Welcome to Superangel University. And today we have Hedi Mardisoo from Cachet. Really glad to have you here, Hedi.
Thank you for inviting. Very nice to be here.
And as always, we'll start with looking over what questions people ask us in advance. How to build a network professionally, how to use a network for a new market entry, how to prepare entering a new market, how to prepare for meetings with mentors, how to build a network of key people in your industry, how to quickly spot unwritten cultural rules in new market and business networks, if and how to hire local agents, strategies for team, network and partnerships building in new markets, what steps you do in a new market to discover user needs, pain points before market entry. So this is what the audience was looking for, and we hopefully will cover most of this stuff. And I would like to start, Hedi, with a small background. Like with Cachet, it's insurance for gig economy. Mainly, like most understandable use case is drivers of Uber and Bolt. That you need insurance for that part of your daytime when you do actually the job. And the current insurance market is not flexible enough to allow you to buy only for these hours when you are working. And this is a pain point that you are solving with Cachet. And right now you are operating in Estonia, Poland, and Latvia, and are preparing to launch in UK. But you are incorporated in Ireland, and you have gone through the Techstars in UK, Barclay Techstars. So let's maybe wind back a bit that when you started Cachet and you were approached by Techstars that, hey guys, would you like to come? And they had a roadshow in Tallinn, and you kind of hesitantly went to meet with Kartik, that you didn't have like very big intention in joining Accelerator or going to somewhere abroad because you had too much on your plate already and building this company and product and so forth. So let's start from there. But why like you are in a small market, in your local market, building your startup. What finally convinced you that okay, it's meaningful right now in the midst of like building this. It's meaningful to go to UK and leave your team behind to Estonia to do the development, and also your family, and to live here and to go for several months to UK, and especially when you were not planning to launch right away in UK. So what's the logic? Could you explain me?
Yeah, if you put it like that, then I'm starting to think, why did we? But no, there was a very clear reasoning. So why we were hesitant was very clearly that we were thinking about accelerators somewhere during the summer, before the kind of Techstars meeting. I know very well what day we met them, and vice versa was kind of a bit chaotic. We actually met them the same day we went live with our product. So I think everybody who has ever launched something first time as a startup know that this is quite a special day. But nevertheless, if Techstars invites you personally to come and meet, then we decided, we'll be polite. And so I went to meet Kartik and Fabio back then, and yeah, they were super nice, and I think to be honest, the process what they have built was pretty convincing in that sense. So they gave us lots of things to consider, think, but why we really went there was that we understood, okay, we have launched now in Estonia, we have this kind of small, amazing, ideal sandbox to really pilot, test, get the verifications, everything. But our ambition with Kalle was right away to do European and later phase a global company. So for that, we understood that if we're going to go there somewhere in spring, it's ideal. We have tested the product a couple of months. We have got some initial feedback, and we can actually focus really those 3 months, away from families, which is obviously always very hard. But you actually understand how can we grow and how can we scale. And Techstars, being one of the top accelerators in Europe, was definitely a place where we trusted, and we didn't regret it. So we did interview lots of different people who have went through it, and I think we prepared quite well what we're gonna get ourselves into. So.
So you did your homework, that, as you said, that interviewed people who had gone through it, and was it worth it, and what did they get out of it, and you decided that these networks and this door opening was definitely useful, would be useful to you.
Yeah, well, we were very much, in between until we, I think, went to London to do the final pitch.
Okay.
So it was very funny. Gaotek would send our videos from somewhere from holidays, and we definitely didn't have this very organized and well thought through process of how to get there. But when we went and pitched in the Barclays building, it was quite. Then we had already thought, okay, that's if there is not very many good arguments why we shouldn't go there, we should do it, and we are happy that we did so.
So now we get to a point which I like about your experience in Techstars the most, that we have talked about it slightly before, that Techstars is famous for their mentor madness, where it's a week and a half or 2 weeks where you meet like 90 plus 40 different mentors, and not necessarily when you are in insurance, not necessarily from insurance, but like in general more in fintech, that they have in your batch they had a few insurance mentors also, but not necessarily that everybody is like extremely relevant to you. But the way you approached it, I think it's really cool that you did your homework, and so that going into every meeting you had a agenda with this particular mentor, that what do I want to get out of this 20-minute session with this guy. Would you elaborate it? How did you approach it? Like, you have like 90 guys, you have 1 week, you have evenings to prepare for the next day, 20-minute meetings. What was your work process? How did you go through it? What did preparation mean?
So yes, so I think we had like 9-10 people like in a day, and it's kind of exactly 20-minute slots where we go around the table. We got I think Friday or Saturday we were sent the kind of draft or the overviews of the mentors, and then we digged in to really start to do the kind of try to find the points to make yourself relevant to them, and get as much out. So with every mentor, we basically had the decision we had to make before or during the meeting, that are we gonna try to pitch ourselves more to make them like us and remember us and connect with us, or we're gonna try to get maximum out of their knowledge during this 20-minute meeting. So that was basically what we played. So the aim of it was to do your pitch as efficiently and well as possible, and use the rest of the time to actually have a relevant conversation or try to really connect. So how did we prepare? Was literally Google, LinkedIn, every possible TechCrunch source that we could find to try to understand their previous experience with things that are relevant. So you said, right, there was maybe 3-4 that currently were involved in insurance, but so many had previously some sort of somewhere else, some slight insurance or then gig work platform connections experience. So what we needed to dig out and kind of connect with. So how we did it was we both did it, but probably the pre-work, since the structure there was so that the CEO was the one interviewing and the co-founder was there to always participating and helping out with everything. If you do 10 meetings in a row, sometimes you have these black points. Then there's always someone to take over. And also 2 notes that we, because it's not one thing is preparation, Second thing is interviewing and really kind of having this fruitful discussion. But I would say the hardest part was actually to write the meaningful emails afterwards. So that really tracked the days in, I think, up to 12 hours or longer, that we remember that we both literally, we had a stop that we couldn't go on anymore. So
what was like, that's a very crucial part. I think that the follow-up emails, that you follow up to every single one of these 100 and whatever mentors you met, and you probably reach out also in LinkedIn to connect. So what was the message? Like, how much time did you have to put into like every single one? That was it just one line, nice to meet you, or did you follow up with action points that it was great to meet you and we discussed this and you promised to give us introduction to this and that guy, or how detailed was follow-up emails?
Exactly. So that was something that Kalle really helped a lot. So he made some notes of the points that are relevant, and what I did was that put it into kind of probably the feeling and the kind of temperature and everything. What I wanted as it came from me, the email to really leave behind from our company. And I think to really have this kind of personal touch, plus then the content that we spoke and agreed, and because, whenever now it's a year has passed, so when we would reach back, they would probably have a look at that mail, and that's why it's meaningful. Obviously, we have LinkedIn, etc. With some, we don't, we are not in touch. With some, we are very frequently in touch with. But basically, those are the emails that matter. So that's why it was worthwhile to invest in it.
So it's a long-term investment, like spending 10 minutes or more on writing the email personal note. It might pay off later.
Well, after 10 times 20 interviews, it takes you a bit longer because you're quite tired.
Okay.
So.
But then it's like you have these, let's say, 100 plus guys in your LinkedIn. You have sent them a follow-up email, and with some guys you have some action points that they promise to do some introductions. With some guys who are like on the VC side, when you're ready to raise, you contact them again and, hey guys, now we are raising. What other ways there are how you use this 100 plus guys when you already had them in your LinkedIn? What was other uses or values that you got immediately out of it?
So maybe I'll tell a few more steps about this, because the process that was built in Techstars was really, really clever. So we were pushed into actually writing weekly updates every week to all those people in the list. So basically, all the mentors, we could include them into our mailing list, and they had vested interest to actually read and comment back. So besides this kind of time when we met 20 minutes, we actually wrote to them every week during our program, and I think I did it every week until somewhere mid-June, and then started to do it more kind of less frequently. So literally, we had very concrete things that we wrote in the email, some sort of structure. And every email, as an Estonian, I discovered that I'm so incredibly bad in asking a simple ask. But then I understood this is actually very complicated, because to have a successful ask is probably the key thing in building your network. So that was something I remember. I literally woke up in the middle of the night, and then something sparked, and I wrote down my ask. So it sounds very crazy, but I think. If you think it through, this is really hard and really, really kind of important to do right. So
I totally agree with you. This is from the investor side. I like this saying that asking for help is a founder's superpower. The founders who are good at asking help, they have a superpower, which puts them in far. It's their competitive advantage. So just to clarify that, what kind of asks did you reach out for from these mentors, and what was like in Techstars, they have, like, as you said, that they are vested, that they kind of have committed that I'm going to help these guys, I'm going to read their emails, but still, like, how much they actually were willing to respond to your asks, and what was your takeaway, that what kind of asks they met more easily and they were more happy to do it, and which ones were like, oh, it's too complicated, I will do it later, and then they never got to it.
Let me actually step one step back, because I think this is something that I've shared it in a couple of places as well, but this was definitely something I thought I'm pretty good at, in communicating with people, asking help, reaching out, building networks. But to be honest, to have the ask kind of done right was something I can easily say that I learned in Techstars. And why this is so kind of, how to say, loaded, or very kind of, how to say, much deeper than it looks, is that to ask something, you need to make it super easy for someone to help you.
Okay.
And that means that you need to do all the work for them, for literally them just to kind of do a simple thing, use as little time of their day as possible, and also social credit, as little social credit as possible, to do either intro or find something out for you. And for that, you basically need to try to work out the question or identify the person that is relevant. You know, no one will give you an intro. Okay, can you make me an intro from with someone from Uber? No. Why should I? There's tens of thousands of people that are connected somewhat with Uber. No. So you need to say that I need that intro with someone from this department, ideally dealing with something like that, and because of that. And I think this is something, and basically what I've seen in quite a few people in Estonia that have asked, for example, intros from my side, they do the intros very one-sided. That and even I will start, okay, why should I do that? What's the benefit really for the other parties? Because I will use my social credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have had a couple of intros that probably weren't done very well from my side, and you will probably not get that favor next time.
So what would be like? Can you give an example that what's like obvious one-sided ask would be that I need somebody from Uber, financial department, to tell me something about their risks, or how many insurance claims they have, or something like this, and that's like pretty one-sided. It's already like you at least indicate to the department that that's a good part, but what would be like a better version of this, or what would be how to add the other side, that it wouldn't be one-sided, that the other side would also gain something out of it, or how to do the twist? Can you give an example?
So first of all, if someone asks for risk-related data from Uber, then probably I'm not going to make the intro, because I know the answer is no, and I would look quite stupid in doing that. But if someone would ask they have some great product which adds value to Uber as well, and they would like to discuss possible opportunities in this market, as this is the problem there, and we have a solution, then this sounds like a perfect match for both sides. If I know someone from even if someone could, in my network, could ask someone else to do an intro, that sounds relevant for them to actually act as well. So basically try to understand why Uber would need that one as well, and what's kind of the problem that you're solving. And if that's combined, then it's very simple to make a very good intro, and everybody's happy.
So basically, you have to figure out that if you have a product, whose problem in Uber it's solving, and you can have a conversation based on, hey guys, I want to understand better your problem size and frequency, and would our product kind of fit into your ecosystem and your company in order to solve this problem. And so from that angle, it's if you have done that homework, it's easy for the other side to do this intro, because there is value on the table that you are trying to solve the other side's problem, and I'm not burning my social capital just because you are curious and you want to learn something.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think everybody should think and consider, I think the best intros are when both sides are actually, so it's kind of double opt-in type of intros. So you actually ask that I have this kind of person that is very keen on meeting, some sort of personal connection from your side with them when you want to help them. And then basically from there you can, if the other party says, yes, that sounds good, then I do the intro, because it's also very bad if I do the intro and it's going to be only one-sided. So it's a waste. So I think this is something I've learned as well, that it's always double opt-in. And if someone says, I'm not the person, reach out, but I can give you the other person who to talk with. That's already value for all parties. Or they say that, sorry, we know that this is not relevant for us. I'm not interested, and we'll try to then find a nice way of saying that, sorry, this time it didn't work out. So.
In your experience, like how long was in order to do this double opt-in, that somebody they will send an email to their friend that, hey guys, this startup wants some help or have a call with you, or like a lunch or coffee or whatever. In order to make that to send out this email, it would be awesome if a startup would send me like a paragraph or like 5 sentences of what's the point, why do we reach out, what's your best advice, and how long should it be, or what should be in there?
There's also a very good format. Basically, it should be very short, definitely not longer than, I would say, 5-6 lines. That's maximum. And the first line should be some sort of connection that I can add myself. I know this person from there, or he's a good kind of. It's a good startup. They have done well, whatever. And then you have a small 1-2 line intro, and then the problem or the connection point why this makes sense for both parties. It shouldn't be long, but it should be exactly to the point. So. So that's the forwardable email. So.
So you said that you use the Techstars and this network to understand what's going on, like in Uber and gig economy, with different gig platforms and that part. What else did you use this network for, or what did it give you, or what kind of insights? Or of course, a big part was about investors, like whose door to knock and who are the guys who could add value in addition to money. But I'm interested in more this non-investment side of this network. But what was the benefit?
So there was a very, very different range of people. So around 90 people was from Techstars side, and then 35, 40 people were from Barclays side. So from there were people around the bank. So I was in a good position, as I worked myself 9 years in our region, very large bank, Swedbank. So I had some sort of understanding experience, and it was quite simple to maneuver around and try to locate really the people relevant for us. So for example, in Barclays side, I managed to take part on some pretty deep, and I wanted to go very deep in some, like really the kind of data, what they do with data, really hardcore data kind of analytics, modeling, what they do. So I had a luxury in actually just quietly listening to a few calls, which they did, US, UK, I think few European countries on certain matters about how they use some of the data. And that was super interesting. So I tried to dig deeper in talking with quite good this kind of data miners, analytics, really someone who's building things in AI. So I didn't go to the more conventional, and then we had the right people on our track who could be our sponsors in certain areas.
What was the upside for Barclay guys to take you to the calls? It sounds like one-sided, but it was very useful to you. But why did they accept you in these calls, and what was their?
I think, well, most likely in some of those cases, yes, but it was Barclays Techstars Accelerator, so they actually had the role of helping us. But I don't think that it was one-sided. As me and Kalle, we definitely educated them quite a bit about gig work, online platforms, how things are working, what's the future there, how the product should be. some of the angles that I know that they are working on. So it's not one-sided. It's definitely two-sided. But I don't think any company would benefit of this kind of accelerators when they don't open up some things that they might feel a bit slightly uncomfortable with. Especially, banks are very sensitive in many cases. So yeah, that's I think how it needs to play. But in Techstars side, we had lots of different interesting people, starting from some people from the mayor office, from state pension systems, from some geek platforms, wide range investors, lots of people from different banking kind of areas. Yeah, quite international. There was also some people from India, some people from Germany, Netherlands. So we tried to find from every country they were from, obviously about their exactly market specialities. We tried to understand their connections with this was always something that we digged out if they know someone relevant to ask for the intro. We that always tried to kind of map if they had previous experience in certain areas. And to be honest, if you want to scale to new markets, you don't need only insurance advice, or you don't need only contacts to the geek platforms, but what you need, how the tax system works, how the, legal something works, how can you, do this and that. There is plenty of questions you can ask from people if you find some sort of relevant experience in the past, and I think this is important.
Very cool. So you launched in Estonia. You are in UK 3 months doing heavy lifting with networking, and at the same time your team is building a product back home, and then you launch your product in Poland and in Latvia instead of UK, and you still haven't launched in UK. You are still preparing for a UK. So what's the logic? Like, this is the biggest, like, one of the most difficult questions for the early stage startup. Which country should I go? Like, I want to be global, but in the beginning you can't be global everywhere, because your time, how much your team capacity, how much countries you can open, how much customers you can onboard, and to manage this flow, that it's limited. So you have to make choices. And so what was your logic, or how to list that? Like, Europe is wide, and you say that you don't want to go to US, but you want to. So it kind of limits you already. But yes, it's Europe, but it's still like plenty of countries to go to. And why Poland? Why not Germany or France or Spain or something else? What's the logic there? How did you make this decision?
So we have two logics. One was around everything around geek work and info society services regulations, what we looked into, and the other one was then everything connected with insurance. So Kalle, Cachet's co-founder, he was one of the architects of the sharing economy regulation, which was 2017 enacted in Estonia, and this has been copied to 8 countries in Europe. And probably will be more. So what we looked was clearly to really understand how the gig work is regulated. So that gives also the kind of confidence that the partners that are going to be there are not going to disappear very fast. So if there's very unstable regulatory environment, in many countries the gig kind of work, the platform work has been almost halted or really made hard to operate. So that means that we look very clearly if there's a way that people can actually work like normal platform work should be, that they don't have to do it like a full-time employee. They actually benefit from doing it part-time as well. And the other angle we looked obviously was how complicated and what's the insurance environment and regulatory environment there. And from there we did the shortlist. And maybe the other bigger element that helped us to make decisions was this was something we worked quite a lot during Techstars as well. Is our strategy going to be full on to UK, try to, boost our valuation very high, and then start to look around in the world where else. Obviously, UK is the biggest geek market in Europe by far, but Poland is the biggest one in CE. So we in that sense got slight inspiration and also advice from Marcus Willing from Bolt. We discussed it a bit, and because they have done it quite smartly, and also Volt, which is other big platform, have done very cleverly that they didn't actually go to the biggest market, which was heavily saturated and high competition, but they actually went around into markets where I wouldn't say are low hanging fruits, because going
there is no such thing.
There's no such thing, yeah, especially in the more regulated areas. But still, you go into the market which somewhat is easier. You don't have to spend millions on actually fighting with someone who's doing kind of similar thing and there. So that was our rationale, and from the and what we wanted to when we're gonna go into UK, we want to go in, like my kid likes to say, go big or go home. So we want to be there when we are big enough and strong enough. We didn't see the point to go against the wave when already we were then very small. And in insurance, it's good to have some experience under your skin and in connection also with data and the models that you have before you really kind of scale. So that was the rationale we kind of took when going out and selecting the countries.
Very cool. So you said that in Europe there was 8 countries which have adopted a similar regulation as Estonia. So was your shortlist consisted of 8 countries, or you could add more?
It wasn't actually fully 8 because, for example, in some of those markets, again, the insurance has been tweaked quite strongly to different directions. So the decision is not all those 8, but why we went to Poland was definitely because it's a very, very important market for our partners like Bolt and Uber. So it's important market for them, and there's lots of gig workers who are working the same way as we see in Estonia, that they don't have to be full-time taxi drivers, and they are working part-time. So we saw that to be a very good place to go.
So okay, you shortlisted your countries. You said that Poland is a good country to go into because of several reasons. What was the next step, and how much you could use the network what you had acquired in Techstars? Was it any use to you for Polish market or really not?
Actually, not. There were. I think we had around 2 or 3 contacts in there, and then we used our help of one of our advisors in Estonia who has a company in Poland. So via him we got some help, and to be honest, so we got equal amount of help from some VCs that didn't invest in us.
Really?
So yeah. So I think this is something to bring out as I got quite many connections and also attention after we graduated from Techstars. So we probably had 100 plus something VCs reaching out, and many of them are always offering that, okay, if you need any help, reach out. And with some, we actually have built a really good connection, and they are helping, we are working together, and they do it gladly. And then we got some amazing intros and very good kind of connections to go from there. So in Poland case, I've actually got very much help from one VC, and also then we kind of by our advisor in Estonia, we actually got one kind of person to help us to kick off some activities. And yeah, then we recruited, and the country had quite shortly. And to be honest, I think next markets we will try to get the country head even earlier, because it does, especially in COVID time, it helps as I can't or Kalle can't be there present in person. So then it's quite good to have someone locally. Okay.
So in case of Poland, like hiring a country head, it's your kind of first in a bigger markets. What's the process for you? what did you look into in this person? What are the criteria if you want somebody who is independent enough, but at the same time is like helping to build up your product that doesn't want to be everything customized to Polish cultures and customs and everything, that you can still launch like the same product all over the globe.
Yeah. So what Kalle and I were looking for were a person that first of all has some sort of experience in either insurance market or then the kind of gig platform sharing economy world. So this was one criteria, and the other criteria was definitely that we see this kind of hunger to wanna grow, to wanna really make this the best product in the market. And obviously we also looked at a person that has a good kind of network and also ability to solve this different whatever things that come to your way. So you will, I think, as a startup, when you're not already size of Bolt or size of Wise or bigger one, you need to kind of I think try to find a person that has this eagerness and drive to wanna do something, build up something, and actually put in the same amount of energy than you are. And I think we succeeded quite well with the person we hired. So we are very happy about that one.
So how did you, like, first of all, how long it took to find the right person, and was it more like heavy LinkedIn search, or asking people, hey, do you know somebody who could be a great fit, or putting job advertisements up there, or what's the procedure like? Far away, distant enough, far away country to hire somebody?
Yeah, it's actually a strange time. We have two persons working for us in Poland, and I've never met either of them physically, so only digitally. But in our case, we interviewed a couple of people, and I think what worked was that to use within our network to be bold and actually ask from some of the people that you really would like to have in your team and work with. And in our case, that actually worked out. So
you reached out to people that, hey, your CV is something I would like to have.
No, it's more like, can you, it's again networking. Can you help us with that, or do you know that one? And by the way, do you want to work for us?
Okay.
It was more like that. And I think we are probably finding already a second person like that within the network that works somewhere else, and yeah. So.
Okay. We have some internet issues, seems so. Let's hope that it will get resolved on a way. Using your network for reaching out to people and asking, validating their that can they help you, and then also asking that, hey guys, that in addition to helping you, can you do you want to join our team? That's a really cool way how to recruit country heads. How long it took to find the right person?
This one is always hard. It didn't take us long, because I think when this question was dropped by this time, Kalle knew the guy before. When we saw he was interested, I had my one-on-one interview with him as well, and I was like, okay, we need to get him quickly on board. So we decided from our end very fast, as it fitted the criteria that we had put ourselves, that who we want to find, and we had already interviewed a couple of persons, and from that side it was fast. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that fast always. So I think in that sense, when you have a person that you have either yourself previous connection with, or you have someone close that can put some sort of trust credit, then it's easier. But obviously, going out cold, then it's then you always can also go wrong. but it went fast for us. We didn't give him big assignments in that sense to fill, but obviously we had a quite thorough kind of interview and understanding if he sees things the same way we do. So.
Nice. I have what's your advice on other founders that how to, as a startup, as you said, that you are not a big company, that you don't have a very clear career path, and it's still unclear will you make it or not from an outsider. What are the arguments that you had this advantage that you know that person before, so that was some kind of trust relationship already there? It always helps, but still, what's your advice on what advantages to offer to the country head in a faraway country, so that they would instead of going to some bigger, bolder competitor, they would join your small early stage startup?
Well, if we want to brag that we can, because we got him. He was also being interviewed by Amazon with Boy and many others. So we kind of should be very proud. And we
you
are.
Should.
So,
you should, yeah. So what was the trick? How did you do it?
I think one of the trick is that he didn't have. He had a different background. He has been doing public policy and lots of this kind of slightly different type of work, but he was hungry to how to say build something up. He was hungry to actually show him. Become a general manager, actually do things that he hasn't done. And this was what he made him kind of become interested, because the other roles in large, very fantastic companies would have been in the same area where he has always worked. And I think both, I recognize it very well inside. I worked years in kind of marketing, comms, biz dev, and I was very, very tired of that. I knew that I'm capable of so much more. But it's not easy to kind of simply typical career path actually say that I don't want to work anymore like that. I want to work as a general manager for this. It happens, but lots of companies don't employ people like that. So I think this is something that to consider if someone has the qualities, has the what it takes, but maybe not the proven track record in LinkedIn, then test it out and help her try to get going. And I think maybe you'll get a very, very professional, very, very well connected and actually motivated person to help you build your dream together. So
wise words. Slightly changing, we had one question about culture differences in different countries. Latvia, Poland, Estonia. Has this been an issue, that understanding the Polish culture and how, one is a legal environment, the other is an insurance environment, which in Poland is a real nightmare. But when there's a layer of a culture, how things are done. Is it important to understand it, or it's not in your case?
Actually, I was thinking about that one question all the way I was driving here. I was driving to this location, and I think the culture is definitely important. So I would give two answers. One maybe more from my previous life. I used to work years in larger corporations like Swedbank, and actually in Sweden, for example. And I've had long walks with some of my friends that have worked around Europe, in UK and other places. And what we concluded at one point, and I really remember this because this really stayed with me, was that you become international when you have been working outside from your own home environment long enough to understand the faults of your kind of work culture and kind of, I would say, business culture. And then you are international. And at one point I discovered that when I worked quite long years in Sweden, but yeah, now I feel that yes, I understand what are good in my in Estonian work culture, what are good in Swedish, what are and both ways. So that's something to kind of consider. So if someone first of all has worked outside quite a long time, then maybe with those people it's always simpler to find the kind of common ground. So that's one thing, and I think in case of our country manager, we definitely have that case. But the other part to definitely bring out is that COVID has, I would say, messed that thing up completely, because the culture, I was quite scared as a female founder going to Poland to build up a taxi insurance company. I think all those keywords don't work together very well. So taxi is quite masculine, insurance is very masculine still in Poland, and everything like that. But with a COVID, and I think a very strong team behind you, it's I think the rules have changed a bit, and you can't go to the pub to drink beer or vodka or something like that. When some of those business decisions probably are being done, so everybody's squeezed in a slightly different comfort zone. So let's see what happens when the world now clicks back to some different normality. But definitely what I would recommend, nevertheless, is there is numerous slideshows, white papers, whatever about culture. Just read them, because there are funny things that are different. There are funny things that it's good to just kind of know.
Can you give an example in case of Poland? Was there something you read which you found that it was useful, that you knew that this is a difference?
I think, to be honest, I think some of the things that I read aren't, or I read a bit more, maybe a bit this kind of, there's definitely a bit more kind of, how to say, top down. So it's more hierarchical.
Okay.
And that might be still the case that I've seen in some conversations, that some people prefer to answer to CEO, and even despite you can say that, okay, I actually am not the smartest person in that area in the room, speak with someone else. But yeah, probably a few minor things more. But what I wanted to kind of put across as well, and maybe we have been just lucky, but if you have a good solution, and again, if you find the winning and you understand why you're doing business with someone, I think you always find a common ground. You don't need to go around and change yourself too much, but what you do need to listen. And I think this is one thing that doesn't, despite of whatever country you go, listen and try to understand. Don't push only the way you want to do things. So maybe that's something to kind of consider.
Yeah, it's quote from Heli Valtna, who's building a light code photonics. It's a 3D camera.
I know. She's my parallel classmate. Greetings to her.
Greetings to her. So she made a very nice quote about it when she investigated what the customers are saying about what their needs for 3D cameras for robots. That whatever assumptions you have, you don't go there to validate your assumptions per se. You go there to listen what customers are saying, and if their story doesn't fit with your assumptions, then it's not the customer's fault. That you have to be willing to let go your assumptions, and you can do it only if you go into these discussions with open mind. That if you are too keen on validating your assumptions, you're always going to listen for a hint that you are right, and then you don't pay attention to all the other points which indicate that you're wrong. So yeah, I totally agree that this listening part, that what the customers are saying, and being willing to adjust to what's going on in different markets is important.
But let me bring one actually storyline in which I haven't spoken, but what has helped Cachet very much on the way is actually different embassies and kind of diplomatic kind of contexts. So what we have made as a small, lovely tradition is to, when we go to new market or visit when the world was still open, we actually always try to pay a visit to the embassy as well, to say hi, introduce ourselves, what are our plans, and if we can help them and they can help us. And to be honest, we have met so amazing kind of people that are really keen on helping you. So I would recommend everybody who wants to go to new markets, do that. Definitely reach out to the embassies, and you will be surprised how much help they are happy to give and provide you. And maybe one more thing that regarding also UK, I have to mention, because that helped quite a bit, and I have a fairly clear path if you're gonna now go to UK, because that was one topic you really wanted to understand more. Was that I was lucky enough to be selected by, I think, the Embassy of UK and the British Council. There was some female founder event or a European-wide kind of trip that they arranged, and I was lucky enough to be together with Food Talk founder Katrin representing Estonia. And they basically gave us an amazing tour when we learned everything, how to enter the UK market. We got help from, we had training, so we got all the information that you need. And we had, we were also then put in touch with, there's a really, really good kind of organization called Global Entrepreneurs Program, which basically their task is to lure startups like good startups to actually bring their HQs to UK, and you will get dedicated some sort of business experienced just volunteers that are working with the program, and they are businessmen having their own companies, etc. That or women, and they help you actually along the way. So there's a program. If someone is really interested in that one, try to Google the Global Entrepreneur Program and then just reach out. So it's a super simple, and they have a very, very good way of bringing that on board. So my strong actually recommendation is countries are doing quite a bit to help you to get going. So don't underestimate that kind of channel.
Absolutely, and for all the Estonian startups, when you don't have an Estonian embassy in that particular country, reach out to a Finnish or some other neighboring country embassy and say, "Hey guys, I know that I'm not Finn or I'm not a Swede, but we're kind of from the same region. Can you help me out a bit?" Officially they can't, but unofficially, if you're friendly, then most of the time they actually can help you the same way as if you were a citizen of their country. That's embassies, and also the Enterprise Estonia, for example, in Estonia has a Singapore Resti Alvar, who's doing an awesome job for all the Estonian startups in Singapore, and James York, who is doing an awesome job for US side. So there are public sector guys who can actually help you out. So very good that you brought it out. But before we run out of time, so UK, you are not operating in UK. How you are preparing for it? Like you are kind of Irish mother company, because Barclay wanted you to have either in US or in UK or in Ireland, so you choose Ireland. But what's your steps for actually entering the UK market, and how far are you from doing it?
Yes, so we basically would have speeded up the process, but with Brexit, it was wise to take a bit of a step back, because until middle of December, no one knew what's if the digital single market works. Can we passport our broker license there? Can we what do we need to do in getting ourselves licensed? So with regular startups, it's easier, who don't need to acquire any licensing, but as an insurance distributor, and we need a licensing. So for this is the first step in that sense for us. And from there, we need to understand if we actually need to set up an additional company or not. I prefer not to, because the digital single market is an amazing thing. We can just passport things around and work very nicely throughout Europe. But in UK now, this is basically what we need to clarify. If that's sorted, then it's as simple as reaching out, trying to find a good tax, good bookkeeping company, and that's kind of the first steps to take. And obviously, from our case, we have the partners, and that we need to kind of open things up with, and obviously, so that's more the kind of also legal framework and how to get going as a company to be. If you take for like market wise, obviously market research, this is something that we do regularly. We have done that already somewhat during the Techstars time. We have got some help from then also Barclays back then. So we are doing, we're monitoring very clearly what's going on there. COVID has done quite a big changes there in the insurance market. So this has been probably one of the main reasons why we haven't run into, and we are probably pushing our kind of a bit kind of second half, not as a before, because there is still unclarity. But otherwise, yeah, market research, definitely don't invest into that. Try to understand what you're doing, why, where, what's the best channel to go out with is obviously other thing. And because UK market can be very expensive in terms of if you need to, we are selling in Estonia and Poland and Latvia B2C and B2B. So for us, it's very, very important to, and that's probably going to be different from today's model, how we do in UK, to make sure that the model we reach out is smart, that we will not just waste customer kind of acquisition money.
How do you test it?
So,
How do you find it out before launching, or how much can you find out before you launch? This is like very crucial what you're telling, that what's the channel, and should I do Facebook advertisement or Google ads, or should I do something else like local radio stations or like whatever not?
so I think again, this is a place where I would recommend try to listen lots of different podcasts. There's tons of companies that are sharing this kind of information about their company and interviewing others. So see what your competition, what your kind of similar industry, non-competing companies are doing, how they have built things up, and then decide either you want to do completely differently or actually follow the kind of logic. So this is something what we have done. In our case, I think we have identified very clear a few places that are important and where we have got lots of info and as I said, yeah, different podcasts, different, we have Instech London, Intertech London, so Intertech UK, so lots of these kind of things which are in our area. Try to locate them, talk with them, try to get info. So most people are very open to actually help if you have a good idea. They want you to come to their market. So.
Very cool. That's again, we're kind of going back with the constant theme is that ask for help and you will be served. That people actually, especially when you, as you said, that if you're doing something cool, which is different and which people find engaging and interesting and useful, then especially in like these tech industries which are young and emerging, that different startups are willing to share the information. Like in legal tech, one of our portfolio startups, Hugo Legal, they reached out to 2 startups in US which went bankrupt and asked the founders that what the heck happened, could you explain me? And out of 3 founders, 2 of them were willing to make a call and discussed in detail what happened and why they went bust. So like extremely useful information. So yeah, reach out and ask for advice. So we have talked for an hour. Any final words for early stage startups on building networks and entering new markets?
I think step by step approach is good in that sense. Sometimes there are lots of people saying launch in a very big market right away. We took slightly another path. I don't know yet if it's right or wrong. We hope to prove it right. But I think the final words would be that it's not that complicated to scale, and there's lots of people that are willing to help you on the way. Just try to be relevant in asking. So
very cool. Thank you very much, Hedi. It was awesome talking to you, and all the listeners. I wish you all the best in these strange times, and see you around until the next time.
thank you. Take care. Bye.